Hey guys, welcome back to All Packed
What
Up.
up?
We got a super, little bit different episode today.
A little bit different, but not.
Yeah. But on par. Who do we have, Hunter?
Today we're going to have our commandant, our fearless leader, El Jefe himself, Kansas Sartin,
Presidente.
with his daughter, his eldest daughter, I believe, Afton.
Correct.
They just got back from a pretty long road trip.
Yes.
You know, here at Pakmule, we're all about getting out on the road, baby.
Yeah.
And we don't just say it, we live it.
That's
and so
right.
Kansas took his daughter out. I think they went up into the Utah.
I mean, honestly,
You know what? They're going to tell us.
Yeah, they're going to tell us all about it.
They're going to tell us.
Yeah, I know nothing, and I'm excited to hear.
It's just always cool to hear about. You know, I got a son. You got a son, Coleman?
Negative.
You got a dog?
I do.
You got a dog. So Coleman's always like, man, I would just love to take my dog out on the wild frontier and show him the places. Same for me and my son. But you know what?
Yeah.
I don't really ever get around to doing it.
Yeah.
And here's a man we're going to interview who actually gets around to doing it.
Yeah, he
and
does.
so we're going to hear all about it.
Super inspiring. Hopefully we'll learn a little bit about that area and what they got into and like the ins and outs of how to
Caverns.
How to do it. How to do it on a budget potentially, and how to do it just easily. I think they took their camper truck, which is can attest a good time.
Don't spoil.
Yeah. Bleep it out.
No, I'm joking.
Anywho, what's new with Pakmule?
What else is new? What else is new with Pakmule? Educate, Inspire. I know we've been talking about it. Dropping a new video. Well,
Soon.
not today, but soon.
Yeah.
We got some other new stuff coming out with that. We got some other new things coming out at Pakmule, so stay tuned.
Ooh, that's right.
I won't drop any more hints than that. But
Potentially, though, by the time this airs, actually, I can go ahead and say that if you are a Scout owner, go check out the new Hitchin' Post for you guys.
woo!
It is.
Yeah, you can hang that sucker like a piece of art. You know what I'm saying?
Officially, yeah. As always, if you have stories, we love reading those. Seeing pictures of you guys on the road.
Man, send them in.
Send them in.
I'd love to talk about it.
Love to talk about it. With that being said, Kansas and Afton Sartin.
Let's get to it.
Hi guys,
Hey, man.
welcome to All Packed Up. You want to introduce the heir to the throne? What am I saying?
Well, this is Afton. My oldest daughter, she's 17, is a senior this year, going into her senior year. And so I only have one summer left after this summer with her. And
Wow.
and
Sad. I'll start.
I know.
It's crazy.
Right in the feels.
crazy. And
Yeah.
so I was like, man, we haven't done a trip. Where do you want to go?
Okay, so that was kind of the first thing behind where y'all want to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other part's a little bit shameful. It's very much my generation. I saw a TikTok of the Mount Carmel.
The beginning of like most stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I saw a TikTok.
Yes. So, yeah, I saw a TikTok of this girl driving through the Mount Carmel tunnel, and it's a highway that goes. It's the only highway that goes through Zion. And so to get into the park
From the east.
from the east, well, either
Yes.
way, but the prettiest way is to go in through the east. Is you drive through this tunnel, and then it's super blinding lights, about a mile long, and then as soon as you get out, you just see these like soaring cliffs, and it's gorgeous.
It kind of
And so,
opens up.
Yes.
Wow, that's cool.
And it was a really cool TikTok, and it's so ridiculous that I had to say
Hey.
that. But
I mean,
it got
maybe
us there.
It's good for something, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's so funny about it is I didn't realize she had chosen Zion because of that video until like we come out of the tunnel, and she was so excited about, we have to go drive through this tunnel and this whole thing, and we
Yeah.
come through, and she said something about, I saw it on TikTok, I just
Yeah.
had to come see Zion. I was like, wait,
Yeah.
we drove to Zion because of the tunnel? That's
Yeah.
how you chose Zion? She's like,
Yeah.
well, it then inspired me to
mean-
look at other pictures of Zion and some
Yeah.
other things, and I
Yeah.
thought it looked great.
There you go.
In my defense, the view from that tunnel is freaking incredible. So
Yeah.
you know.
I'm just laughing at like after you walking into like the living room and being like, Dad, I'd love to like go to Zion and
He gets so pumped.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
he's
like,
like, I've been
"Whoa,
waiting
whoa,
for this day.
let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, this is
And
great.
you better believe that I totally got a video too. So
Yeah, yeah.
I've got an identical
We'll
video.
plug that in
Yes. Yeah.
right now.
Oh yeah.
So take us to the beginning, like as far as planning and the preparation that went into it, or lack of preparation. I don't know.
Well, it was a lot of planning, and I feel like it. At work there was so much stuff going on that normally I'm able to like go home and start turning those wheels, and my brain was just super foggy with everything going on.
Yeah.
And so it was really hard. It was maybe 2 weeks before we were leaving when I finally was like, man, I got to figure this thing out. And started doing some research and trying to figure out where we're going, what's our route, where are we stopping, what are our activities, kind of the whole deal. And so we knew we were camping the whole time, and we took the rig with the 4-wheel camper in the back. Different than what we did with Tessa and Noah, because those trips, well, Tessa's small, and she's pretty easy, so we both fit in the back of the 4Runner for 5 days pretty easily. Noah and I were, we did the Grand Canyon, but then we were in Vegas for SEMA for a couple days, and we had a stop. We were at the manufacturer. So there were lots of like different stops along the way where it wasn't really conducive to camping the whole time. But this trip was purely just Afton and I for 10 days.
Wow.
11, yeah.
And
11 and a half.
Yeah,
11 and a
11
half.
days and 6
3
hours.
hours.
Who counted, right?
34 minutes.
And so, we just needed more amenities and more room and all those
Yeah,
sorts
so you
of
take the
things.
rig.
Took the rig, big rig.
Yeah.
Diesel prices came down, so that was nice as well. And so we decided to route I-10 going west and then come up through the western side of Gila National Forest in Arizona. And
It was like
Yeah.
a 5-minute difference.
Oh, to go through it that way.
Yes.
wait, Gila's in New Mexico.
Yes, it is. The other option was to go further up north and then go north. Never eat soggy waffles. Northwest. Go northwest,
Gotcha.
kind of through more of what my boyfriend likes to call the armpit of New Mexico and Utah and all that area.
Yeah. Armpit of America.
Yeah,
That's it.
pretty much. Yes, yeah.
So like Route 66.
Wait. Let's go back to this armpit thing. What part
Just
did we
like-
drive through that was an armpit?
We didn't.
Oh.
That's why we went the Gila National Forest route. It's because I was looking at the map and I was like, oh, look, Dad, there's a forest over here. So it might be, prettier scenery than where we're going to go,
Then the other option.
the shorter route.
Right,
yes.
right.
So then we just kind of decided to, add that 5 minutes to the trip and cut through Gila.
Yeah. We're going to have to do an armpit drive just to qualify what an armpit looks like.
Apologies to all our armpit of New Mexico customers out there.
Yeah. Well, they know it.
Man, there's a beauty in some of those
Yeah.
spaces.
That's right. That's in the eyes of the beholder, one might say.
Sure.
So we went to Gila, and I'm totally brain farting that Gila's in New Mexico or if it's in Arizona.
It's
Maybe
in-
our producer can double check it for us.
It's in New Mexico.
'Kay.
We were right on the border of New Mexico and Arizona. We were on mile 3, which is where we ended up pulling off to camp. And yeah, it was very upper corner of New Mexico. And then we drove into Arizona like 10 minutes later or something crazy.
Nice.
Mhm.
Let me go back a little bit. After, what were kind of your expectations of the trip? Maybe expectations for yourself, for, I don't know, being with Dad for 10 and a half days, maybe, all of it.
It was kind of surprising to me. I'm a planner like my dad.
No.
But yeah, shocker.
Yeah.
But I went into this trip with 0 expectations, which I kept sitting back and wondering, why am I so calm about this? Why is there nothing that I'm worried about?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't worry about, oh my gosh, did I not pack something? Or
Yeah.
what are we going to do? I just kind of went along for the ride. And I really
Yeah.
liked that because it ended up being an incredible experience. And I didn't, have my hopes up too high or too low.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's cool.
it was pretty awesome. It's just, you go and see and do.
Yeah.
There's no way to prepare for it, really, in my opinion, because
Yeah.
I had never been to that part of the United States and I had never done a camping trip like this. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of like go in the reins. Like he's, just trusting that. he's
Exactly.
gonna- yeah.
Yeah.
it's
And then I
it's
heard the
gonna be right.
itinerary and I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well, with all trips like this, part of part of the trip is the adventure and not really having every detail completely ironed out. Like there's some flexibility in it.
Yeah.
And so staying in Gila National Forest.
I didn't look.
I saw the
That's what the
producer over there
producer's for.
looking it up, and she wasn't even looking that up.
My bad.
Well, it's going to drive me crazy. So
That's cute.
But I'm right, though.
Haley, for looking.
Googling now.
Googling now. In event, so our plan was to get to Flagstaff area the first night, full 16-hour drive. It's in New Mexico, as Afton said,
Thank you.
in
Thank you.
northwestern New Mexico.
No,
Is it
No.
don't get crazy. We found the
Northeastern.
state.
Northeastern New Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm tired of thinking about
Anywho.
that part. We're going to move on.
I'm going to pull up the map for the video in just a second to help orient myself a little bit.
Yeah.
But in any event, as we left El Paso and Las Cruces, we headed northwest, Gila National Forest. Beautiful place. A buddy of mine who's maybe listening, J.W. Fields, his backpack there before, and I'd heard him going through there. Beautiful Ponderosa National Forest. And so we decided, hey, it's we're in this really great looking area. We've probably got 3 or so more hours of driving left, but it's like 8 o'clock. Maybe let's stop and cook some dinner, go for a walk, kind of stretch it out. So at least all that's done. So whenever we get to wherever we're going to show up at, which we didn't really have a destination space we were camping in, we were just looking for public lands, we can just park, climb in the back, and shut it down. And so we pull up our Onyx map. We realize there's, this is all the forest and there's an entry coming up. We peel in, pull over to the side and park. And as I get out, there's this coyote just full color and body, like really pretty. And he's kind of checking us out. And he doesn't really seem to care that we're there. He's maybe 50 yards from us or something. And he kind of like walks behind some bushes and comes back out. I'm like, hey, Afton, come check out this coyote. Real pretty looking at us. And then he goes across the little road that's in the forest, and he's only got 3 legs. So I don't know if that's a trap or what happened with him, but he was obviously eating healthy because he looked incredible.
Wow.
And so we just kind of go walk down that road, and we're just exploring, stretching legs out, and we're going to come back and eat. And the plan is to leave. As we're walking through this forest, we're just breathing, like kind of exhaling. After he goes, golly, it sounds like I hear a river or a creek or something. And I sort of listen, I'm like, I don't know. A few minutes later, I'm like, yep, I hear what you're talking about. And so we walk down and we find this creek, and there are these huge, smooth, black rocks. I don't even know what kind of
It was slate. I looked it up.
slate.
Fact checked.
Yeah, fact checked it. It's incredible having this technology because I learned about Google Lens, and so everything we didn't know,
That
she was
thing
like,
is incredible.
snap, snap, snap.
Wait, what's that?
Google Lens, you like take a picture and Google pull up what the thing is, like if
Mhm.
it's a bug or it's a tree or a plant or whatever.
What?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Mine-
just a rock? It's like knows what?
Well, I didn't Google Lens that. I looked at the rock and I was like, oh my gosh, that's slate. And then Dad was like, okay, sure, Afton. And then I looked it up, and then I was right.
And so there's this real pretty creek that's coming through, all these
Mhm.
ponderosas, and then across the creek is this big meadow. And so we're kind of hanging out there for a little bit, and then we're sort of walking back. I'm like, we got to camp here tonight. Like, this is where we got to stay.
That's awesome.
Let's get up early tomorrow and crush out the other 3 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
we know where we're going to be. It's almost like leaving fish to go find fish.
Right,
You're not
right,
supposed to
yeah.
do that. I'm like, man, why do we
It's-
leave this spot to go find another
Another,
one? Like,
yeah.
let's just make this it.
That's awesome.
And Afton had a one comment. She was like, I don't know. It's almost like, let's leave the mystique here. Almost like not Unbound.
Oh,
Was it
Unbroken.
Also-
Unbroken, where he's like, I don't want to finish the last mile.
yeah.
And I was like thinking that, and I was like, yeah, I hear you. And we're walking back. I'm like, no, let's camp here.
It's a nice thought.
This is
No.
so great.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
reasoning behind that, and I'm glad we ended up staying there because it was a really beautiful spot, was that we hadn't planned to stop there. It was a completely unmarked road. I mean, the only thing that showed any tell of the campsite was a cattle guard and ranch gates, and you just pulled through it. Originally, I thought it was a ranch, and then Dad checked, and said that it was BLM land. But, you don't really see, there was no signs of humans there, I mean, except for one plate with, BB holes all through it. But other than that, there was no sign of human interference, and we drove through, and I mean, we walked through, and then, you know, we pulled up on this beautiful place, and it just felt almost wrong to be there because of I just wanted to leave everything as it was, and I didn't want to interfere. But, you know.
Kansas is like, nah, we're.
Oh, yeah. So then we ended up taking advantage of it,
Yeah.
and it was, I mean, that's the most incredible camping spot I've ever been in, and
That's
I'm
cool.
sure that I ever will be in because, you know, just everything lined up so perfectly for
Yeah,
it.
that's fun.
And we didn't leave behind anything, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we left it the way we found it, and there was roads. We were on roads. We weren't like just bushwhacking.
Oh,
and there were
yes.
fire rings that we found of other people that have camped out there.
Right.
So
But other than, there was no people there.
yeah, there were no people.
It was
there,
empty.
Yeah.
which was why we should be there. 'Cause we didn't have to
That was half the appeal.
hear anybody.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so we set up that night in camp and had a fire going in the ring and listened to the creek going by. And I went down to go get some water to fill up our jugs, put the fire out at night. And I saw these like things moving through the water, and I'd shine a light, and there were little crawfish in this creek. It was crazy. I mean, the creek was less than a foot deep. The
Oh,
whole thing.
wow.
I mean, the whole thing. It was crazy.
Wow.
And so, anyways, really pretty. So then we get up the next morning and we go to the Grand Canyon and get to the South Rim and just peer out into like this God carved
Yeah.
beauty. You know, I mean, the colors and the levels and the expanse. It's just impossible to really
Yeah. Have you
conceive.
seen it before?
I had only ever seen it in pictures, and pictures
Yeah.
don't do it justice.
Yeah.
It was
That's what I've heard.
incredible. And there was a haze over the entire canyon, and it looked like it had been painted just because everything was kind of slightly almost just, I don't even know how to describe it. Everything just seemed unreal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it's so crazy because it's flat land, and then it just drops off into these, you know, mile deep cliffs.
Yeah, it's
and stuff.
crazy.
But it was incredible. It was really
Did you have
cool
any
to see.
desire to maybe hike rim to rim and camp in the middle of it?
You know,
Like maybe your sister?
I could see myself doing it eventually.
Okay.
But I mean, for that moment, that was all I needed to see of it. I mean, we drove from one viewing center to another and just
yeah,
to see the
that's
different
cool.
angles and everything. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to go back. I think it was incredible.
Yeah. So you don't spend a lot of time there. You just kind of keep going.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
break
mean-
for lunch, and then we were maybe there for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah.
We were trying to get into Zion.
Yeah, we wanted to get to Zion and get our camp set up before dark and kind of
Yeah.
sort all that stuff out. And so, you know, we saw it from a couple different stops. We didn't go all the way to the Grand Canyon Village. You know, it's a really slow kind of winding road that does the South Rim. And sort of once you see it, you sort of get it. So each stop is just a different angle of it. It's all very awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
But our goal was really to get to Zion. And so then we made some sandwiches on the porch and then took off. And I guess Zion was another 4.5 hours from Grand Canyon, something like that.
It's so crazy to me. After being in the car for that long, a 4-hour trip seemed so much shorter compared to the 13 hours that we had done the day before. So, I mean, it was
Yeah.
just easy. It was really nice because I think Dad and I have similar personalities when it comes to being in the car. And so, you know, we would put on books. We listened to Touching the Void.
Nice.
Yeah, we switched off driving. I worked on a couple of college stuff.
Nice.
Just created a spreadsheet for stuff.
Wow, it's like
So,
two peas
yeah.
in a pod.
I know.
Oh,
Literally.
it was super nice. It was
Yeah.
great. It was.
I'm sure
I mean,
Kansas did no work too while you
Yeah.
drove.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
It's amazing how once you leave Texas, right, it's almost like how many forests and parks and
Mhm.
stuff you're able to access. You have to drive 16 hours like to y'all's first stop, and then after that, it's like
Yeah.
Well,
almost
speaking of
every
that,
other.
our fly fishing guide actually told us that Utah is 60% public land and
Mhm.
40% is actually, you know, inhabitable. So
Wow.
it's
Private.
incredible.
Yeah.
Or private.
Okay.
Private. And
Yeah.
you can live there.
Yeah. Do you know what Texas is?
I don't, but I'd assume it's a really, really,
It's like
really small percentage.
98, 99, I
Yeah.
think.
Private.
Yeah, private. Yeah,
it's
pretty
crazy.
wild. Well, I want to segue into a segment that we do. It's just speed questions.
Mhm.
Usually, it's sponsored by our good friends please sponsor us. Spindrift. I
Spindrift,
think
shout
Kansas Sartin.
out.
Yeah.
We drink so much.
So Haley, our
Spindrift.
producer, has a few questions for all three of us.
Okay.
And they're
First
off
one.
topic, by the way.
Okay.
Book or movie that you've read or seen recently that you recommend?
You just
Touch-
mentioned one.
Touching the Void.
That's a good
It was
one.
incredible. It was a
Yeah.
really great book.
And apparently was made into a movie, which I was unaware of. And
Yeah,
so we're
that's-
going to have to check that out.
That's the only reason I know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Cool, man. The
Yeah.
book. I read the book either as a senior in high school or as a freshman.
Yeah.
It's like been in my head
you're not speed questioning.
ever since. Oh,
Yeah, no, it's that and what's the other one? It's The Wild.
Oh,
That both
yes.
kinda-
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. I love Into the Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
I
did
read
a good
that.
job on that version.
Yeah. For me, book or movie, I watched Sixth Sense last night. He's dead the whole time.
Throwback.
Yeah.
I do think Touching the Void as a book is so incredible. If you spend any time outdoors, one, but there's so much that applies to just daily life because
Yeah.
he overcomes so much. He's like, he has 2 or 3 occurrences where he should have died. And instead of just giving up, he kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And he found ways to overcome exhaustion and hallucination and those sorts of things by creating rhythm and targets and these other things, which are things that we apply in life. You know, when we're having a hard time, set a target, achieve a small goal, small things. You know, he would go like 100 to that rock. As long as I get to that rock in the next 3 minutes or something, and he would get to the rock in 3 minutes, and then he would
And
keep
then-
up with the clock.
For those of you who have not read Touching the Void and you're not big readers, I was a big reader growing up. It's so hard for me to sit down and focus on a book now. The audiobook was incredible. It was narrated by Joe Simpson himself and his partner who was on the voyage with him, Simon. I cannot remember his last name, but it made it so much more real to be
Simon
able to hear the
Sinek.
voices through it.
No.
But
Yeah, that's a good tip is to
yes, I
do
fully
knock
recommend
out
that.
the audiobook.
Audiobook.
What's next, Haley? Gosh, also sponsored by the jazz band downstairs.
I know.
If you're listening, I apologize.
What is your phone's lock screen?
I left my phone
My
outside.
wife.
Oh, Mexico. Actually, it's Guanajuato. It was the view that we saw from the top of the hill with a huge I can't remember the name of the statue, but
Oh yeah,
in the city
I
of
saw pictures of that.
yeah,
That's cool.
it was incredible. It's
Mine
really
is
cool picture.
3 surfers I took a picture of in California.
Oh, fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Stalker.
It is pretty stalkery. I've got notifications, but it was actually an incredible moment. Like went and like hiked down this little cove,
Mm-hmm.
super early morning. Fogs come through this like cove, but there's like 3 surfers that are just like sitting in the middle of this big giant open, not surfing. They're just sitting together.
Oh,
It's cool.
that's cool.
Nice. Mine's my babies. My 2 little
Aw.
kids.
What's
Yeah.
yours?
Your mom.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Your
mom.
Mom.
Your mother.
Yeah.
Okay, if
mama.
you could choose anyone to have dinner with, who would it be? Dead or alive?
Robert Duvall.
That's
Wow,
good.
that's a great answer.
I am so he is one of the people that I would love to meet.
Wow.
And actually, my cousin ended up, I think she must have been 8 or 9. She's a really social person, so she was at a cafe with her mom, and she was just running around the cafe meeting people, and actually met Robert Duvall as he was sitting there eating, I don't know, biscuits and eggs or something crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was nuts. I'm
She
very
was
jealous
just-
of her.
She was just running around the cafe meeting people, just
Yes, she
introducing
just-
were there
just
like
did her
lots
thing.
of other people, or she was just like saying hello to random people.
Just saying hello to random
Oh.
people, and then ended up saying hello to Robert Duvall himself.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Was that in
Maybe-
Utopia?
It was actually.
Yeah, he's got a place
Mhm.
near where I'm from, and he's always snooping around. And
It's
you
pretty
seen
cool.
Lonesome Dove?
I have actually. Obviously, it's my dad's.
I
I mean, my
have.
mom walked down the aisle to Lonesome Doves. Which song?
Yeah, the theme
The
song.
theme song. Yeah.
Oh, I mean that's
So, you know.
that's awesome.
I've had to have seen that at one point in my life.
Yes, absolutely.
But Secondhand Lions, love that movie.
Oh,
so
great one too.
I
Yeah,
grew up with
Yeah.
that. But yeah.
yeah. What's the question again, sir?
I'm eating
who
with
you-
Willie, obviously.
I knew you were gonna
Obviously.
say
Yeah,
Willie.
obviously.
I'd say my grandpa. My late grandpa.
Yeah, I'd say my mom.
Yeah.
Same as these.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we won that.
Yeah. What's one bucket list activity that you have?
Visit the Amalfi Coast in Italy.
Oh.
That's just something I've been wanting to do for a while. Ooh,
Yeah.
maybe, Glacier National Park. I'm excited. I want to
Yeah.
go see that.
I talked to somebody about Glacier on the phone today.
Nuh-uh.
Oh.
Yeah, one of our customers or somebody.
Small world.
Small world, yeah.
Yeah, I would. Europe is one for me. I've just never been, and I'd love to step foot across the pond, maybe.
So on the European trend, I think really my next bucket list, my wife wants to go to Italy really bad. Not necessarily Amalfi Coast or anything. We'd like to go see the old countryside and try some of like the non-sulfited wine and some of the
Heck
stuff
yeah.
that's over there.
Yeah.
And our 19th anniversary is this summer. So my goal is for our 20th anniversary that I can actually afford to fly her over to Italy for a couple weeks and see it and check it out.
That'd be awesome.
That being said, as Afton and I went through what you'll hear as 4 national parks, I thought about how many people that don't go to national parks that all travel to Europe and all these other places and they don't even see the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how many foreigners we found in the national parks that have traveled over here to come
it's
see all of
incredible.
our national parks. And it goes back sort of to this weird human function where
You just take
we
for granted
take
where
for
you
granted the things we have access to, or we don't find it as unique and special.
live. Mhm.
So we go to other places to see it when we have all these amazing things in our backyard.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Very true. Thank you, Haley.
You're welcome.
Oh, wait.
That's all I got.
What's yours?
Bucket list?
Yeah.
I'd say Europe too.
Yeah.
See the history. I'm a
Yeah.
big
I
history
just
buff.
like the idea of, there being so much there that the United States we kind of think we're on top of the world, but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we don't have our roots as deep as
I think
any
it would
of those
change your
countries.
perspective for sure.
It is
Oh,
incredible.
yes.
Yeah. Not to brag, but I have done the pyramids.
Oh,
in
have you?
Cairo, and it's incredible. I mean, just seeing them and wondering and awing on how they were built, and I recommend. That's speed questions. Thank you. So we get to Zion. I think that's where we're at in the story.
Yeah. Where did we go? First night.
So the first
You
night
were-
we went to the Watchman Campground in Zion. That was the one place that Dad actually made a reservation for. Other than that, we were just kind of, bouncing around BLM land, which I loved that.
Yeah.
The Watchman Campground was incredible. It was incredible views. He actually made a steak on a small grill that we brought.
Yeah.
And
The Coleman.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
And then we brought we had pasta in bags. Who's
Peak Fuel.
Peak Fuel?
Oh man.
Incredible food. My sister was she was telling me how the first night that she did the rim to rim with Dad,
Yeah.
she sat down that night and they ate it, and she said it was the greatest thing that she had ever tasted.
No, it's incredible.
I thought that she was over exaggerating because of how hungry she was,
Yeah.
but no, it's actually like really good food.
Which one did y'all have?
Chicken Alfredo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
We tried
We
did pesto pasta a couple nights,
Yeah.
but each time either Dad or I overpoured the water, so it
Uh,
ended up being
really
noodles
watered down
and chicken.
pesto. Yeah.
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 But
Yeah, I remember Kansas and I were at a trade show, and they were there,
Mm.
and they maybe just brought us a sample or something, and it was like,
Yeah.
that's one of the better chicken Alfredos period.
Yeah.
That we've had.
Better than some of the restaurants I've
Yeah.
been to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
it was great. And then we had salad too. Dad it was shocking to me. I actually asked him, if he ever imagined he would bring salad on a camping trip. And I mean, that's kudos to my mom. She changed his appetite. But yeah, he brought some HEB pre-made salads,
There you
and
go.
we had that at least, I think, once every other night.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great.
Nice. So y'all spend a night there?
We did. It
Cool.
was pretty cool. I mean, you were surrounded by so many people, which compared to the peace and serenity of the night before,
I
it
was
was
gonna
kind
ask,
of a
yeah.
change. But I think it was awesome. And then
Yeah, it's a normal campground. So, right.
Sure.
So you've got
mhm.
somebody 30 or 40 feet on either side of, like on 3 sides of you.
Now I will say the Zion National Park people did an incredible job designing that campground because they grew really tall grasses around each of the campsites, so you could still see the people around you, but it kind of felt a little bit more enclosed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just tall trees or anything. It was just,
They do
open
a good
grass.
job of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's the weather like this time of year?
It was great.
Brisk.
I mean, it was low in the upper or mid 50s, I guess, like 54 to
Oh.
56 at night. Or when we'd wake up, we'd go to bed, it'd be 63 or something.
Yeah.
And then I think the high was 80, 81, 82.
Mm-hmm.
Now we heard that last summer, at the beginning of the summer, was already in the mid 90s.
Okay.
So it does get really hot
And that
there.
normally that is maybe the case, but they had so much rainfall and some other things. I don't know, El Nino, La Nina, something.
Yeah.
Something going on. It's a little bit different.
El Nino.
But they said that it does get really hot there, even though our elevation was like 4,500 feet.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's real interesting because in Zion, although you're on your main roadway, the canyons through like tectonic plate pushing or actually rose up. So you're not actually going down like at the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon's carved out of the floor. We're at the floor and the canyons rise up, more like Rocky Mountains or something,
Gotcha, yeah.
But you're in this canyon that rises up above you,
Right.
and they're red and super colorful because of the iron content that's in them.
Oh, that's right.
And
yeah.
so you're just looking up at all these mountains, like, man, this is pretty awesome.
That's cool.
Oh, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Is there snow? Like, can you see like peaks or
Not in
anything
that area, because no, I would say that they probably do get a little bit of snow, but that is in the middle of the desert. So
That area. That's right. Right.
there's very little precipitation. I mean, every once in a
Gotcha.
while they'll get huge thunderstorms that roll through, but I mean, for the majority of the time that we were there was no rain.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. So y'all pack up and leave the next day from there.
Yep, we just parked at an RV spot or something with the truck, and then we stayed in Zion in the park and
Gotcha.
and did a bunch of hiking. Hiked like 10 miles, did
Mhm.
4 or 5 trails, big loops,
It was great. We
waterfalls that are coming
That's
cascading
awesome.
down to different levels.
For those of y'all who are interested in visiting that Zion, we actually kind of made most of the trails blend into each other. So we started with the Emerald Pools Trail, or no, we started with the Kayenta Trail, which is kind of a strenuous way to get up to the Emerald Pools.
We went straight to Upper.
And yes, so we went straight to Upper, and then we somehow managed to curve around and branch off from the path that we took up, and we went down to the middle pools, and then we went down a totally separate trail to get to the lower pools, which, if you can't make it to the upper and middle, they're incredible, but the lower pools, I mean, it's so beautiful. There's hanging gardens, there's just these beautiful
That's
drip
awesome.
waterfalls.
So you're kind of just connecting like trails.
Yes. So then
Gotcha.
we blended that into the sand bench trail, and then we took that to the Zion Lodge, and we sat and picnicked in front of the lodge in this huge, perfectly manicured lawn that, and just kind of rested in the shade of this huge cottonwood that they
Nice.
took like extra special care to make sure,
Yeah,
was well taken care of.
that's cool.
Yeah, they
Um,
like pump a ton of water into it to keep it going.
The ground is
keep it
moist
healthy.
24/7.
Oh, so it's kind of
incredible.
like kind of sticks out.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
right in the
Oh,
middle of
it's-
this huge
it's
lawn, and the
huge.
lodge sits behind it.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
And, then
And so
after
you
that-
got all these hikers that are worn out and tired,
yes.
and you get shade and some respite from the day, but the grass is cool. It's a little
Yeah.
bit
Dad
wet.
loved the lawn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
nice.
was
I watched
Gotcha.
over him.
Yeah,
I could not sleep.
you're like, we're
It
gonna
was-
spend some time here.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the little kids playing. It was really cute.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
we hiked like 10 miles, and we get back there, and I was like, I'm gonna fall asleep for a little
Yeah.
while.
Siesta.
Yeah.
It was
That's
perfect.
It was
though.
awesome. And then after that, we did the what is it called? The Riverside Trail to the base of the Narrows, but the water was flowing too fast for us to be able to actually do the Narrows hike, which I'm sure my ankles and my knees are kind of grateful for that because
Yeah.
it's a notoriously slippery trail.
Okay. Yeah.
But-
Yeah, you're
I mean, there's
basically like
some
walking
spots.
through the river on river rock.
hmm
And you can either walk through the river the whole way or you're crisscrossing the river.
Gotcha.
But, you've walked in rivers before. It's it's not real great on the joints and stuff. And so
Right.
most people have sticks. They recommend these like water type hiking boots. If the water's really cold like it was, they recommend even dry suits at some point. But if the flow's too high, they don't let anybody get in because people are getting knocked over and that sort of a thing.
Yeah, I gotcha.
More injuries.
Yeah, super fun adventure.
And
It
so
was
then
really cool
and so
looking
then
at it.
we applied for so kind of the two famous hikes in Zion are the Narrows, because and they call it the Narrows because you
Walk
as
through
you
a narrow-
walk up the Virgin River, the canyon becomes narrower, and they call it like a slot canyon at that point. And so that's what if you're listening to this and you want to look it up, you can Google the Narrows Zion, and you'll see these pictures of these canyon walls coming up within 40 feet of the river.
Yeah.
And so it's real pretty, kind of photo happy place for social media folks.
TikTok.
For the
And
talk.
also,
For the TikTok.
Yeah.
for your memories too.
Yeah, for memories too.
Think
And
of
then
humanity.
the second sort of famous place is Angel's Landing. And it was named, there was a Methodist minister or somebody that was coming through a long time ago, and he looked up at this space and was like, well, the only way you could get up there is if you're an angel. And but at some point there was a superintendent of the park that created a path to get up to one section called Scout Lookout, and his name was Walter something. They call it Walter's Wiggles because it's this really strenuous switchback that goes up.
There's nothing funny about the Wiggles. I thought that there was, and then we were getting up there, and I wanted to cry and get sick. It was bad, but we made it.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
And so you have to submit a permit to get up there to the Angel's Landing because it's super narrow and steep and crazy. And we didn't realize how steep and narrow and crazy it was, but they have to limit the amount of people in the traffic. So you have to apply the day before. You submit your application, and then you get an email saying that you either did or did not receive your permit. And so so we were able to go up the next day, which was on a Saturday, I guess. And we wanted to get up early because of heat and all these other sorts of things. And so we actually stayed in a hotel that night that's just outside of Zion, because otherwise it would be 35 minutes to drive into the park and this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then I had a bunch of work stuff, so I was kind of glad to have Wi-Fi, be able to connect and do that stuff. And Afton was able to get a proper shower. And
Nice.
We actually, before that, just for those of y'all who are interested in staying in hotels, the hotel was incredible. It was super clean. They have access to the Virgin River. There's a small part where you can just stand in the shallow end. It was freezing cold, but Dad and I ended up kind of diving in. I had to have a lot of motivation to jump in the water considering Dad's reaction. But then I did it, and then I did it again, and then I got out freezing cold, and then we got in the hot tub at the pool,
Nice.
and it was incredible. And we got to talk to one of the ladies that it was their second summer visiting there, and she told us about the Narrows and Angel's Landing and all of that.
Nice.
For
Those nice for recovery too. A little.
Oh
yeah,
yes.
after 10
It'd been a
miles,
long
you're like,
day
man, this
of
feels
hiking.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then we got up really early the next morning at I think
Yeah, we got up at 5 or something.
5. Yeah, 5. And then we took the first shuttle, the 6 a.m. shuttle to the base of Angel's Landing, which is actually right at the Kayenta Trail where we had gone the day before. And we went pretty much straight up from there.
Yeah, you just zigzag and you're going up, and then you get to
Just-
Scout Lookout, and then you transition to Angel's Landing. And Angel's Landing is, in a lot of places, it's only a 10-foot wide trail, and you've got 1,200-foot drop-offs on either side. And there's a
That's
chain
insane.
bolted in to the rock that you can hold on to. And I had Afton going in front of me, and I'm just encouraging her the whole time. And I'm looking down like, this is nuts. Like, I had a pit in my stomach,
Yeah.
and just thinking, this is crazy. And there were places that were really bad, and then there were other places that were worse. And then the wind really picked up, and we had this crosswind, and like I kept thinking my hat was going to blow off.
Oh,
I thought
And
that
so you're-
I was going to blow off.
And so your body's catching that blow, and
Yeah.
you're like, man, like I just want to lay down or
Gosh.
crawl.
It was really
Yeah.
funny because, Dad was being Dad and was being super encouraging, but and I didn't want to bring it up then because I didn't want him to lose his confidence, but I could totally hear the, half, like the panicked edge in his voice where it was like, are you
got it.
encouraging me or are you
Yourself.
encouraging yourself? Because it kind of seems like a mixture of both.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. But But it was
And-
a super
and-
crazy mind challenge, but we made it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very mental, and so we talked about Joe Simpson a lot.
The poor hikers that we were walking
and the
past
touch
must
and
have
void
thought we were
stuff.
crazy.
Yeah.
And you just really had to dig in and know, like, all right, lots of people come do this. Only 7 or 8 people have died falling
Now-
off of it. So
Yeah, only. Gosh. Rest in
Like
peace, those people.
7 and 8 or 8.
yeah, rest
Too
in
And
many,
loving memory
sure.
of those who passed.
Yeah.
But we made it there. We made it back. I gotta be honest, if you are like me and you get a little bit nervous on these kind of things, honestly, if you're just looking to do Angel's Landing and you don't have crazy super experience in hiking and crazy things like that, I would totally recommend making the push and doing it really early in the morning, because the motivation that you had from not passing people going like through the Wiggles section of the trail, if I had seen people walking down, I would have lost all of my motivation, because it was so incredibly difficult. And then on Angel's Landing, there are parts of the path where it's about 2 feet wide, 2 or 3 feet, and then it widens out a little bit, and then it narrows up again. And I think that us not having to worry about passing people was
Yeah, or
just,
people
it was
passing
just
us.
was just another
Gotcha.
relief that we had. That
So the fact that people weren't passing you was,
it was so great.
Yeah,
And
because you're already on this skinny trail,
Mhm.
And then
yeah.
you
yeah,
don't
on the
have
way
to
back
add that
down,
into the,
some guy was like, let me just stand right here. He's like, please don't make a mistake though, because he's off the chain,
Oh my
and we're like
gosh.
sliding by, and you're like,
Oh,
this
gosh.
is too
Mhm.
much, man.
And
This
it
is
gets-
too much.
it gets crowded really fast. So
Yeah, I bet. Okay, so
Definitely.
noted. Yeah.
yeah, take advantage. I mean, I'm not an early morning person, but I fought through it, and it felt incredible to A, have an accomplishment done that early in the day, and then B, to not have to worry about just adding that other factor into just trying to survive yourself. So
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on the way down, Afton's knee started bothering her. Like my knee will start bothering me on downhill stuff. She has knee problems
I have
anyways.
very bad knee problems.
Yeah.
They're really annoying.
And man, the people on the trail were so sweet. Just seeing me like sort of holding,
Mhm.
giving her some support on one side. They were like, "Are your knees okay? Like, do you need help?" And somebody gave her like some CBD oil to rub on her knees,
Yeah,
and then
CBD
and then
balm.
10 minutes
Nice.
later, somebody offered up a ace bandage to wrap around her knee for some compression.
Mhm.
And
Other people were offering me Advil, which
yeah, and somebody's like, "You want to borrow my hiking sticks?" I mean,
Mhm.
all
Wow.
sorts of crazy stuff. It was
Mhm.
incredible, and we
Wow.
met people like that the whole trip.
mhm.
And Afton, I mean, I think you noted several times, like, man, people out here are
So
just so
nice.
happy and
So those
helpful.
people in Utah, man, they're
Well,
nice.
just in
Mormons.
general. I
I
mean,
think it's
even
in
when we
general,
were,
yeah.
different stops all through
Yeah.
everywhere, people were super kind and friendly.
And it's because I figured it
People
out.
are outside.
And
Yeah.
they're outside. They're all sharing the same experience that you are. There's a bunch of dopamine running
Yeah.
through their systems.
Yeah,
and,
actually.
they're not putting themselves there because they don't want to be there. So
Yeah, everybody's happy.
It
They're in
was
this place they
incredible.
want to be.
Oh
Right.
yeah. And so it took us about 2 hours to get back down the trail, because I had to sidestep the whole way down. I ended up not taking Advil because I was super afraid that I wasn't going to feel the pain, and then my knee was going to dislocate. So the knee
Oh.
issues are frightening for me. Pretty much on a daily basis, I always think like, okay, if I step here wrong, is this going to happen? Like what's going to happen if I start running and I trip on that branch or something. So
Yeah.
it's a constant mind battle. And then the thing that did it to me was when we were on Angel's Landing, I was folding my knees like all the way up because I was so scared to fall that I was staying as low to the ground as I could. And then just getting back down, you have to lower yourself down some really steep steps.
Yeah.
And so I think that much strain on my leg really kind of
Yeah.
messed it up. So Dad half piggybacked me, half just held my hands while I was trying to get down the
Yeah.
super steep path. But we ended up making it.
You
And
did
then
it.
and then we hobbled along the sand bench trail, and then I finally got to lay in that grassy area, and it was incredible. And yeah, it was great though. I mean, Dad was, number one dad in that
Yeah.
moment. It was super great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then after leaving the lodge, we went back to the truck. We went to St. George to go get her some knee braces. We went to start the truck. One of the batteries was dead. We had to get a jump. So then we ended up at Napa buying a battery, and I replaced the battery in the parking lot.
Oh.
And then bought a jump pack just in case we were out and remote land, and we can't start the truck because I thought maybe there was a camper thing going because the isolator pack was making noise while we were camped out, and normally it's not supposed to. That keeps the truck battery from draining off the camper battery. In event, so we drove to St. George, did all that stuff, and then ended up at BLM land that night. And
Smithsonian Butte.
Yeah,
It's
Smithsonian
a really incredible
Butte,
place in case
BLM.
y'all like to camp. So
yeah,
Why is it called that, I wonder?
it's a butte. I don't know why Smithsonian,
Oh, okay.
but
it's really pretty. It's super great land.
That's cool.
we were there. We happened to be in Zion area during the 3 weeks of cedar gnat season. So they have cedar, juniper trees like
Real
we
cedar.
do. Nope,
Oh.
same thing. It's
Oh.
also juniper
Okay.
that they call cedar tree, and
Huh.
it's vice versa. They have the juniper berries and stuff. But they have a gnat that lives inside the bark and comes out.
Mm.
And so
I hate those things.
we tried to eat out on this beautiful viewpoint, and they're like keep swarming us. So we kind of get a big fire going and smoke, and we're trying to keep them off. And at some point I didn't realize that they bite. But so we were sitting, we'd finished dinner, and we're like drinking some tea, watching the sun go down, and they weren't so bad, but I was like, just let them cover all over my legs. I'm fine with stuff crawling on me. It'll be fine. And they bit the beep out of me.
Oh
Oh,
my
no.
god.
And I've got all these bites and scars all over my ankles and my legs
That
and my
just
waist and my
destroy, yeah.
elbows and everything.
Fun.
And at
He
some point
sacrificed himself so that I didn't have to have bugs crawling on me.
I was
Yeah.
like, I just
You know,
let 'em
I'm
crawl.
unscathed, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I just sit there like, I'll just let them crawl on me and they'll be fine. And then I'm like,
Oh,
oh, ow, are they biting me?
Yeah.
Like, what are these? These aren't gnats from
Yeah.
Texas, man.
Yeah.
These are bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was so.
Yeah.
And then and the next morning we had another experience with them, when we went canyoneering. So that was fun.
So maybe some bug spray.
Yeah, except
actually,
only
it
the
doesn't work.
eucalyptus type bug spray will work, the really
Mhm.
heavy stuff, which I used to use in Seadrift all the time because the mosquitoes are so
Yeah.
terrible down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, normal bug spray does not work on them. It's
Okay.
insane.
Okay.
They're like
noted.
bloodthirsty little demons.
Mm. It's almost like, why do these even?
I
Why
know.
are
It's
they
so
even here?
gross. Yes,
Like-
exactly. That's one of the things. Mosquitoes, leeches, and cedar gnats.
You're like, all right, so the bats, have something to eat.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I don't know.
Bats
Yeah.
do lots of other things too. Yeah.
Right.
Then we hired a guide the next day from
Oh, cool.
Zion Adventure Company, I believe.
Mhm.
Whitney was her name, and she led us through a full day of canyoneering. So we're like
Wow.
rappelling into these slot canyons and down climbing.
Oh, that's
and,
sweet.
What else were we doing? Friction slides.
Canyon elevators.
Yeah,
That was fun.
it was awesome.
If y'all do end up using Zion Adventure Company or just are interested in doing slot canyons at all, Yankee Doodle was what we did, and it's about an hour drive away from where we were. But it was super cool. It was very narrow and
Real narrow, real tall.
very tall. Yes. Lots of rappelling, lots of down climbing, but it was really incredible.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
Sometimes it's nice to have a day where you've got a guide and
Yeah,
Mhm.
with a lot of things, fishing and stuff
Yeah.
too and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
so and
Yeah. So sorry.
I had a brace on my right knee and I had another brace on my backpack for my left, and I figured out how to maneuver around, keeping that leg as straight as possible, which it worked out pretty well.
Nice.
But yeah, it was crazy. Every down climbing scenario, I mean, it couldn't have been more than a 5-foot drop, but it was just a mind game every single time.
Yeah.
And once you get down, it's kind of disheartening to be like, oh, okay, I was this panicked over something that, really isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But I did it, and it's incredible to have that feeling of accomplishment. And
Yeah.
we did some rock slides and stuff, or not rock slides like the disaster, but where you can slide on a rock. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was pretty great. And there were definitely a ton of cedar gnats at the top of the canyon. And then once you got further down, they started to disappear. So it was pretty great.
Yeah.
Then they returned once you crawled back out. But
That's awesome. So what's next? What's
Then
on
we drove to
itinerary?
Bryce Canyon that night and
Yeah.
camped out in the Lincoln National Forest
Mhm.
and got up in the morning, went into Bryce National Park, and we did the 3-hour trail ride. So instead of like hiking around and doing all that, since we had done 3 days of hiking and canyoneering, we just got on horses and rode horses all
There
through
you
the canyon.
go.
It was like a 12 or 13 mile horse ride.
Wow,
which was
that's
pretty
awesome.
great. So you got to see everything, take pictures, and it's fun to be on horses, and
Yeah.
she's ridden when she was younger, and so that was a good time.
Yeah.
And then went back pretty much to the same campsite out.
Cool.
And the great thing is that the Lincoln National Forest are these designated camp spots less than a mile from the entrance of Bryce National Park. So there's only one park that you can camp at in Bryce, I believe. And there's an incredible cool lodge. There's a bunch of log cabins and stuff,
Cool.
which look great also. But we were on the camping program. And so we camped out again and then got up the next day and met a guide near Canyon Reef or Capitol Reef area of Utah to go fly fishing. And we fished
Nice.
in Fish Lake,
Fish Lake.
which is
It's
the
the-
deepest natural,
Fish Lake.
Biggest.
largest, deepest natural lake in Utah.
Hmm.
Wow.
We caught a bunch of perch.
Yes, he caught a trout.
I
I
caught-
did not.
I caught one trout, and we
Rainbow?
tried some river. Yep, we tried some river fishing.
Hmm.
But the creek, there was so much snow melt and so much flow, and we
Yeah.
got a ton of rain the day before. Like while we were on this horse ride, I told Afton, like, put on long johns, then your jeans, and then you need to have a long sleeve shirt, and you need to have a jacket, and then you need to have a rain slicker. And she's like, Dad, it's so much stuff. I'm like, if it rains, you're gonna want that
Yeah.
base layer. You're gonna be freezing cold. And a ton of people were bailing because it was raining while we're getting on the horses.
Oh, really?
And the first hour, 45 minutes or so, was like raining on us while we're riding. But that base layer, kept the heat, because cotton, how cotton will just suck all the body heat out of you.
Yeah.
And so that was a big fun time.
Yeah, I
getting
turned
around.
around at one point and I was like, "Thank you, Dad,
Yeah.
for your advice."
But fishing was fun. But all that rain and everything, the river fishing was just a little bit slower.
Oh, yeah.
And we only fished for about 4 hours, I think,
Mm-hmm.
minus a couple, like 45 minutes driving, I guess.
Cool.
And then we headed to Moab, right after that.
Yes. Wait. Yes, we did. We went to Moab, and then
Oh, we
Oh.
went to Arches National Park that evening.
stopped. Oh yeah, we did Arches, and we got to see the balancing rock.
And that was kind of a last minute thing too. We were
Cool.
like, oh, Arches is right here. So we were sort of balancing this deal, and some friends of ours live in Colorado, and they're like, hey, we're going to be there Tuesday. Y'all should swing by and shower off and like sleep in a bed and eat a meal or whatever on your way in. So we originally were going to have a rest day on Monday. So we moved our guides a day earlier so we could squeeze in to go see them.
Nice.
And so Arches was just kind of a last minute deal. And we're driving in like, man, I think let's go drive through. And super cool. Just this weathered stone. You can look at the pictures. Maybe we'll plug some up on the video. But, you've got these windows carved out of rock and these gigantic vertical walls of sandstone and all sorts of cool features. So we just really did the drive thing on that. We're like, cool, saw it, sort of stood
Amazing.
through some amazing arches and experienced like the
Mm-hmm.
grandeur of it all.
I liked
Right.
the Arches National Park for what we had done that day because it was a singular road that took you through the park. You could do different viewing spots, and then at the very end of the park, we did a short trail. We did actually, I think, 3 short trails that kind of all just merged into one. And we got to see the tunnel arch and then the pine arch. And then we got to see the landscape arch, which is the biggest natural rock arch, I think, in the world.
Like 200 and
Correct
something
me
feet.
if I'm wrong. It's
wide.
about 290 feet, actually. And in 1991, there was a couple of hikers that were able to sit underneath there's a short spur trail that used to go underneath Landscape Arch where they could just sit and enjoy the views. And they were sitting there, and they started hearing a sound that kind of sounded like popcorn or something crackling. And they saw little pebbles falling from the arch, and so they ran out as fast as they could. And I think that they said that something like 800 tons.
I think it was 180 tons
180
of rock
tons.
fell from
Yeah.
the arch.
Yes.
So all these arches are growing and failing and falling, like they're
Mhm.
constantly changing.
And there were
everybody
boulders that had
got
fallen
out. Nobody got hurt, but
Yes.
these huge,
Wow.
like,
the size of small automobiles.
I mean, the size of
just
this
fell.
room, like a section of it just was like boom.
Wow.
Yes.
So is that still happen?
They don't have the spur trail. It's closed now. Nothing has fallen from the arch since. So it's been almost 20 years, over
Okay.
20 years. And They
Now-
just are super scared to reopen
Yeah, they
it
don't
to
wanna
the
put
public
people
just for
underneath.
safety concerns. But
Right, because
They have
when-
scientists
when
that
time
send like sound waves through all the arches and stuff now, so they can actually measure it and try to figure out and
When it'll
anticipate
fall
if
next.
something's going to fail or what the integrity of the different rock formations are.
And will it? I mean,
At some point, yeah, at some
Eventually.
point it's going to fall.
wow.
There's
I
this
mean-
balancing rock thing that's basically a boulder that's of a different material than the foundation beneath it. And the foundation keeps getting smaller each year as weathering happens. And there's at some point that
It's gonna-
tower is going to
gonna
fall,
fall.
and the rock's going to fall.
Wow, that's
And that feature won't be there anymore. You'll never
Wow,
get to
that's
see
amazing,
it. I mean,
yeah.
we were talking about Afton's grandkids might go there and be like,
And not-
see it.
and it's just like on its side.
Yeah, it's just like a
Like
rock
cracked
laying
it,
on the
yeah.
ground. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow, and you'll be able to be like, when I back in my day, that was
Yeah.
standing up.
Yeah.
when I was a young one, my dad and
I saw
this rock on
That was sticking up. You're like, they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Grandma.
you're crazy.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
gonna check you
Let's
into a
get you to
nursing
bed.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Uh huh.
hilarious.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, but it was that was a really cool stop. I don't regret it.
And then we camped outside of Arches
Yeah.
on some more public land, and Afton's like, let's keep going to the top. I'm like, it's getting pretty rough. And she's like, yeah, I want to see the sunset from up there.
It was-
So we're in the rig, just like
Yeah.
crawling up the side of this thing.
Yeah.
It was a great
I
sunset.
got my
Yeah.
view.
That's
got her
awesome.
view, yeah.
You're like, oh, we gotta go back down.
And like
Yes.
everything inside the camper was all over the place. The truck's just like rocking all over the place.
Yeah.
I feel bad about that.
but it was good.
It worked out.
No, it was a great view.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
good.
and then we went and visited our friends. It was like a 3-hour drive over to Uray area in Colorado, and then
Mhm.
Wow,
and then
that's
beelined it back
shocking
on
that
Friday.
That's not that far.
Far.
Yeah,
So-
it was really close.
Everything is so close compared to how the size of
Texas.
Texas. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you just drive over half of our trip on Wednesday, just driving into Gila National Forest. I mean, the majority of it was just trying to get out of Texas. I mean, it's
That's the thing. I mean,
yeah.
it's 6-7 hours to get to West Texas.
It's
or
so
certain parts
ridiculous.
of it. Yeah.
I mean, I love that about Texas, but at the same time, it's kind of
Right.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, I would say if you've got 7 days and you want to recreate that trip, camp in Gila National Forest, go see the Grand Canyon, then drive to Zion,
Mhm.
day
Yeah.
2, and then hike a couple days, and then you can go ride the horses through the stable at Bryce Canyon, day 4 or whatever, how many days you want to hike in Zion.
Yeah.
And then if you want to fish, you can do that, and then drive over to Arches and Moab, and then head back. I mean, in 5 to 7 days, you can do that whole loop.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
So cool.
And then Friday, we just beelined it. We left at 5:20 or something in the morning. It took us
Okay.
about 30 minutes to get down the mountain from our friend's ranch, and then got home to an air conditioner not working at our house in New
Yeah.
Braunfels. And
Luckily,
it
it's
was
so cool here right now.
98
Yeah.
degrees
Yeah, in
that day.
Texas. Yeah.
So swapped the capacitor on the AC the next morning. But
Fun. Yeah. Haley, do you have another on this day for us?
I do. On this date, July 21st, 1969, Neil Armstrong becomes the first person to walk on the moon.
no kidding.
Yeah.
65.
If you believe in that.
Okay.
1965,
69.
1969.
69.
69.
Yeah.
And
Speaking of adventure.
And
know.
that's an incredible adventure. What's also crazy to think about is that the Wright brothers had the first manned flight in, it was a glider, though, I believe.
Fun fact.
I don't remember if it was powered, but it was like 1907 or 1917 or something like that. And so you think about it, basically 50 years after man figured out how to fly, we sent a rocket and a man to the moon.
Right.
Yeah.
That's incredible innovation.
It is incredible innovation, but almost 50 years after that,
Yeah.
seems like we forgot how to.
Yeah.
True. It's true.
Yeah.
Fun fact though, Neil A backwards is aliens, so you know.
That's
it's-
incredible.
That is
Stoke the
incredible.
flames.
I had never heard of that.
That
Oh
is
man, I've
incredible.
been going down rabbit holes looking at
Same,
videos.
same.
Really
It's unbelievable. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
see like little wires and stuff picking up people.
picking up people moving them around.
All I'm gonna say is I challenge people to go just look into it.
One giant leap for man, or just one giant leap for Hollywood? Bum,
Uh,
bum, bum.
big conspiracy theories.
Well, I worked at NASA for a couple years, so I
Yeah.
definitely believe we made it there because I
Yeah.
saw some incredible stuff, all
Yeah.
the pressure testing things
Yeah.
and whatever. But and my grandfather was working at NASA when we went to the moon, which
Oh.
is kind of interesting.
That is cool. Yeah.
But I do think that it's really expensive to do that too. And so when you're
That's-
like go up there a few times, you're like, all right, what's next? We kind of did this.
Yeah.
It's like we went up to Angel's Landing, we hiked, and we were like, all right, are we
Yeah.
going to do that again?
Yeah,
Yeah, probably not.
probably not.
We did it
Yeah.
though. We can say we
the
did it.
energy
Yeah.
and the time, and
We can
you're
say we
like,
did it.
Yeah, that is cool. Well, Afton, what is something that you learned about yourself or just in general from this trip?
There were a lot of moments during the trip where I felt that, I couldn't do something either, because it was too intimidating or too arduous. But I think something that I learned about myself is that the majority of what I was feeling was just mind blocks.
Mhm.
So if you can just overcome that and start to trust yourself, which I did towards the end of the trip, it just, I don't know, you can do incredible
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Certainly, there's and you'll be able to take that with you,
mhm.
in all aspects of your life, I'd
Mm.
say.
And I mean, I definitely did have some physical frustrations
Yeah.
with my knees, but I think that, I overcame it and I ended up having a great time and definitely having a positive outlook towards whatever you go through.
Yeah.
Especially on that trip it helped me get through it and it helped me have a fun time. So
And I
that's
think
great.
one of the incredible things that I recognize about Afton on the trip, you spend 10 days with your kid who you think you know really well, but like this ability to sort of change plans, and you have to be a little bit free to deal with what comes up.
Yeah.
And she was the whole time like, yeah, let's go get a battery for the truck. Like, what? Rolls down the window. Hey, Dad, you need any help with that battery?
Yeah.
No, I got it. Okay, you're doing a great job. And cedar gnats and all the things,
Yeah.
like not showering all the time, and we're using shower pouches, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And like just all the adversity that you have when you have a trip, but those are the things that create memories. Randomly stopping into these pizza shops and having a view, and like just I don't know, all these people that you meet and all the experience of it. Having an open mindset to be able to allow those experiences to happen without being frustrated by those experiences.
Mhm.
Having a little play in your window, allows
Yeah.
for it to not be so challenging.
Yeah.
And I think that Afton's now the third kid that I've taken on an independent trip like this, and the others were, well, I guess Tessa's trip was pretty much just for that. Noah was a lot of work mixed in with some travel stuff.
Right.
And then Gunness and I have been on hunting trips, but each one, when you spend a day with your kid, you just really, not a day, when you spend a trip
Right.
solo with your kid, you really learn who they are and what their accomplishments can be and what they're capable of. And they learn a lot about themselves. And we kept talking like, man, it's so hard to do camping trips with everybody. Why is that? And I sort of think now that she's done some backpacking and hiking, and Noah's done some, and Tessa a little bit, that we're probably more ripe as a family to be able to go do it and everybody contribute and know what to expect, versus us having 4 kids that we're trying to like
Teach
juggle the
and-
emotions and teach and everything.
Yeah.
That now we could probably go institute that, maybe even
Yeah.
later this summer, and make a trip that really
Yeah.
becomes fun for everybody, and everybody's participating and
Yeah.
expectations and stuff. Hey, buddy,
Yeah.
easy on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Afton, this is a question that we ask everybody that comes on the show. It's in one sentence, if you can, what does the outdoors mean to you? You can think about it.
Okay. I believe that the outdoors is it's a place full of opportunity and unlimited growth, not only for itself but for you. And it's a place where you can obviously just go outside and you can find yourself in incredible spots. You can find higher meaning, and I
Yeah.
think it's just an incredible place for, I don't know.
Yeah.
It holds a lot for humanity as well as just for itself and for its natural proceedings.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Well, thank you guys for coming on, and that's awesome. Sounds like an awesome trip. Hope it inspires people to go take a trip with your daughter or your dad and just get outside.
Yeah, I can't say enough. Take a kid camping.
Yeah.
Just get outside.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
fun.
girl on TikTok, for
Yeah, yeah.
Zion's
Sending
video.
us to
It's
Zion
incredible.
vis-a-vis her tunnel video, apparently.
Now you
Yeah.
gotta
Really
make
cool
your own.
tunnel. Super cool.
Yeah, that's right. You got to make your own.
I do. I will. Probably.
Maybe for Pakmule.
Yeah. I could.
Seriously. All right. Thank you guys.